أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الحمد لله الحمد لله اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آله وصحبه. We praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and we thank him for this opportunity. May his blessing be upon our noble prophet and messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his family and noble companions. Our viewers around the world, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh, and welcome to our program. Today, inshallah, I'm going to talk about some of the health complications that can potentially arise from fasting and how we can overcome them. So I will give some health advice on how those who already have some of those chronic conditions, how they can, inshallah, fast without having any further complication from their medical conditions, inshallah. One of the complaints that most people who are fasting are having is a terrible headache. The question here, as a doctor, that I can answer is why the headache during fasting. I mean, couple things come to my mind. It's combination of those, to my view. One is dehydration. People are not hydrated usually as they should. And then the other thing is hunger. Hunger in itself can lead to headache because of deprivation of energy and so on. And then the third thing is deprivation of sleep. So this is one category. And then in addition to that, you can go further and add another category of people who either they have this or they do not. But what makes them specific is they do take cigarette and or some type of caffeine. So when you look at this type of addictive behavior and suddenly during the month of Ramadan you're not taking your cup of coffee every day, I mean obviously that can lead to some headache. And or you used to smoke after every meeting and now you cannot smoke after those meetings. So I mean obviously the body will have a mechanism by which it will respond, and headache is one of them. So how can we minimize having headache during the month of Ramadan? One, if you are among those who are taking coffee continuously during the day, my advice is before the month of Ramadan come, try to avoid those. Like if you used to take 2, 3, 4 cups, try to start programming yourself and your body to minimize taking that much coffee. And I will talk a little bit more about coffee, tea, and so on when we come about the appropriate food during the Ramadan, because coffee technically make you go to the bathroom and could lead to more dehydration. It can serve as diuretic. It will make you urinate more and will make the water that you have depleted. So this is something also that someone need to consider while making the choice of the appropriate food during the month of Ramadan. So this about the coffee, the same should apply for cigarette, even though we agree we discuss and agree in our previous session that cigarette has a lot of economic disadvantage as well as it's a big health challenges for individual who's smoking, for the smoker, for his immediate family and the community overall. So this habit, someone should discipline himself to try to avoid it, to try to just abandon it, period. So that's what I will say about smoking as well as taking coffee and tea. Rescheduling ourselves, trying to minimize those addictions, or even abandon them completely prior to the month of Ramadan is one of the best alternatives that you and I, will avoid having headache. Another thing is the sun exposure. I mean, in many countries, Ramadan come during the summer, and it's very sunny. So exposing yourself outside, unless necessary for work reason or something related to something beneficial, we should all avoid that. And even if we should expose ourselves for work reason, if possible, we should use a hat or something that can protect us. Could be sunglasses or a hat or something of this nature. So, as well as eating nutritious food during sahur, that will prevent us from feeling hungry continuously, as well as taking adequate hydration during sahur and during iftar. Those practices are likely going to help us stay headache free while we're fasting. I mean, if none of this is not working for you, my advice will be to take something like paracetamol or Tylenol or Panadol, depending on where you're located, at the time of suhoor. This is going to help you to prevent you from having the headache during the day. Another important aspect is, headache, some people have migraine. Migraine is not a regular headache, and fasting may be able to make it worse in some people. So my advice at that point is, if you are among those who have migraine, is to consult with your primary care providers ahead of the time. Why? Because some medication can be prescribed that can be able to prevent the headache from happening, and or some medication can be prescribed to abort the headache in itself, so that you can have a healthy Ramadan, so that you can have a healthy life, because migraine can be definitely debilitating and disabling. So those are some of the advice that I will give for someone who is suffering of headache and or migraine. Another health complication that can arise for people who are fasting is hypoglycemia, blood sugar coming very low. Subhanallah, it has been my experience couple years in Mecca. I was there with one of my friends. We come for Umrah from the United States, and we find some people, I think one or two, that obviously they have terrible sign of hypoglycemia. What happened, likely they were fasting, and then they started making tawaf in the middle of the day, and those people happen to be presenting with shaky, kind of lost consciousness, not able to recognize who they are and then who are their surrounding, where they are located, and they start becoming sweaty. So when you're facing people like that and they have history of diabetes, they are already diabetic, taking some type of medication, either oral hypoglycemic, meaning the tablet, and or taking insulin, those people are likely to develop hypoglycemia. Their blood sugar is likely to become low, and when it's become low, if proper care is not being taken care of, someone can lose his life, or they can lose some part of the function of their body. So this is absolutely important thing to understand and prevent, because as we mentioned before, our body is an amana. You and I cannot worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as He should be worshipped unless we are healthy. Health is fundamental for you and I to be happy. Health is fundamental for you and I to make salat. It's fundamental for you and I to fast. It's fundamental for you and I to do business so we can gain wealth and pay zakat. It's fundamental for you and I in order to perform Hajj and so on. So what is hypoglycemia and how do that happen? Understanding this mechanism is likely to help someone who is at risk of having hypoglycemia to minimize this event from happening. As I mentioned, this is a terrible thing. This is absolutely terrible, and it's imperative that I clarify it to some point. Hypoglycemia is a blood sugar that becomes low. Why is that coming low, especially during the month of Ramadan, for someone who is fasting? One, as I mentioned in the previous lesson in talking about the physiology that's happening in someone who is fasting, we do not have enough energy reserve when we fast. The glucose that's reserved in the liver and the muscle get depleted. It gets used. So if on top of that you add some physical work, some other physical activity, and or you do not take the proper suhoor and or iftar, those are likely to compromise your ability to have euglycemia or good control of your blood sugar, especially if you're taking insulin and or you're taking some hypoglycemic tablet that are likely going to long acting, that are likely going to over the course of the day impact that blood sugar to become low. So when someone is having this low blood sugar, you will find the person disoriented, sweaty, terrible looking. They don't know where they are, they don't know who they are, they don't know who's their surrounding, and they will be shaky and sweaty. And the immediate thing to do at that point is to provide them with some source of sugar. Orange juice could be an alternative. Sugar itself, if possible. And then to take them to the immediate emergency room. If they do have a glucagon shot, this is something that they can be given immediately. Some people carry that, but those are alternative. How can we prevent that? One way to prevent that, if you are those who are diabetic, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to cure you. But one way to prevent that is prior to Ramadan, you should consult your primary care providers, because some of the medication can be adjusted. Like I mentioned, someone, instead of having tablet that are long acting, someone can be changed to tablet that can work kind of quicker or in between. If you are among those who are taking some type of insulin, your primary care providers can adjust those. And then based on this, you will need to also continuously, as that can be possible, monitor your blood sugar, meaning record it at certain intervals, so you can be able to have an agenda, have it recorded and show to your primary care providers, and any adjustment, if possible, can be done from there. Brothers and sisters, as you all know, Islam is very easy religion. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala do not impose you and I something we cannot bear. If you are among those who have diabetes, that is uncontrolled. And if the fact of fasting is likely going to cause more impairment, leading to disability, leading to death, you do not have to fast. Alternatives are there. I just request that you touch bases with some of the scholars so they can tell you what are some of those alternatives and how you can implement that in your daily living. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept our deed. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive us and to grant us Jannah. Inshallah, I'm going to stop here. I look forward to see you in our next program. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.